I'm just sobbing in her arms, like full-blown meltdown.
Hugs are my
I
thing.
felt like I was being held by the universe. I'm not kidding. I didn't really believe, quote unquote, in energy work before our session.
I can feel into the energetic field around the body. Well, any unprocessed emotion that you're not feeling and you're not actually looking at, when it does get clogged, it will begin to manifest on your physical body.
Using romantic relationships as a vehicle for spiritual growth.
It's my favorite topic.
I know it is. Something you said to me too that night, I remember, women are sort of the means by which men grow. All right, for everybody tuning in, we just did a beautiful meditation. Thank you so much for opening us with that. Estefania, welcome to She's Wealthy.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for this conversation because this show for me is obviously about bringing value to people. And a huge part of that is sharing about my journey and what I've been through in terms of personal growth and healing and spiritual awakening and the people that have been the most helpful and healing for me in that process. And you are without a doubt one of them. The night that I was going to phrase like the night that we spent together was so special, but like,
be careful.
Yeah, be careful. But like truly,
Yeah.
that like let me kind of start from the beginning of how we met. I think it was like February, March timeframe, something like that. And I came to you, it was like a few months after my breakup, and I was in this phase where I felt kind of a lot of stuck energy. And at the time, I don't think I knew how to articulate that, but I was having a lot of digestive issues, a lot of kind of like grief just below the surface. And I felt like just emotionally constipated, like something needed to be moved. So that's sort of the context that I came to you. And I had done Reiki in the past, nothing that I necessarily felt the way that I did with our session, but I was open to anything because I was like, something's off. So I found you through Instagram. You're a Reiki practitioner in Miami. You do spiritual coaching, you do breathwork, Reiki, and our session was incredible. And I'm curious from your perspective, because obviously we're going to get into energy work, spirituality, and get like your knowledge and all this stuff. But from a practitioner standpoint, what did you kind of experience that session with me to give people an idea of like the work that you're doing and how tuned in you are to
the energy?
Yeah.
Thank you for that opening. Honestly, whenever someone comes in and you can start to feel where they are energetically, I don't know how to explain it more than it's a feeling. Like I can feel into the energetic field around the body. And then like because we are so physical, we want to be felt. We want to be touched. We want to be like, you want to like feel the physical. But when you start really tuning into the vibration around your own body, the more you tune into that, you do become more sensitive to other people's energy and you can feel what parts of them are off. And in my world and how I see it, it's like a wrinkled shirt.
Yeah.
And I just start kind of like feeling and almost a sort of like ironing everything out. There's different symbols and things that we're taught, but like once you get really deep into the understandings of energy work, the understandings of like intention and how much everything changes based on how you are seeing everything, you affect everything around you. So when I started working on you, I could feel the heaviness, but it's like the wrinkledness that was around your stomach, that was around your heart. And so in those spaces where your attention goes, energy flows. So as a practitioner, you're so connected to the person. You're so connected to like what's happening. And like, if you think about it, when do we go somewhere where someone's intentionally
wanting to cry? I was lying there and I was just like, I want to cry.
But when do you go somewhere that someone's intentionally like connecting to every energetic point in your body and is intentionally bringing light into those spaces?
And I will say too, like for our session, like I didn't really believe, quote unquote, in energy work before our session. And the lightness that I felt, like first of all, the amount of emotion that I released during that session was like, it was just waiting. She's doing a sad face. And I remember like I just felt so light after our session because of the energy work you were doing. And I remember also after you were hugging me for like it felt like an hour. And I, like 3 minutes into our hug, just to give everybody a picture, I'm just sobbing in her arms, like full blown meltdown.
Hugs are my
I
thing.
felt like I was being held by the universe. I'm not kidding. And I had this moment where I was like, when is she going to stop hugging me? And then I realized like, oh, she's going to stop hugging me when I don't need to be hugged anymore. And it was just like, you're such a light, you're such a healer. And I felt so different after that. But you were also kind of my like way into this world too, because we sat on the couch after for 2 hours and you were talking to me about chakras and energy work and all of this stuff, because I was at a point in my spiritual journey where I was like, I just want to learn as much as possible because I feel like called to this for some reason. I want to start the energy work conversation a little bit more logically, I think. Maybe from the standpoint, because I think I have people listening that have done energy work, understand this world, and then I have a lot of people like me a year ago that are a bit more logical, quote unquote. And I think a good way into it would be probably talking about unprocessed emotions and what happens when we don't feel our emotions.
Yes, but also like understanding energy it's the principle. When you understand how we are always affected by the energy around us and how we affect things that are around us, then you understand. But there's sciences. There's the famous Japanese scientist Masaru Emoto. Masaru Emoto had a obsession of being able to freeze water, and once the water was frozen, be able to see like all the way at like a microscopic level how it would, what like the reactions of the water was. The waters were always different, and he was like, so what's like the major difference of every single water? And some would be like shattered glass, other would be like perfect geometric patterns. So then he started doing something where he would grab like water from different areas. He'd grab water from next to the Vietnam War, a pond next to Vietnam War. He would grab water from next to a Buddhist temple. He'd freeze those. And then it's like, okay, the ones next to the Vietnam War was all shattered glass. It was all just like, or like weird distortions and bubbles. But the one next to the Buddhist temple were perfect geometric patterns. Everything was perfect. So he kept doing these studies until he came to a point where, well, he did it with music. He did it with like symphony, Bach, Chopin, Beethoven. And then he did it with like AC/DC, heavy metal, and the same thing. It was like we have symphony bringing us perfect geometry, and then we have the hard rock metal that's like distortion and weird. And then he was like, okay, what is the like common denominator? It's our thoughts, our energy, like what was going on around. So then in the next trial, he was like, okay, I'm just going to grab like regular Japanese tap water, and I'm just going to say or write, I hate you, and write, I love you. And then when he did those, and he didn't even say it out loud, he just thought it. And the same thing, all the I hate yous were like distorted glass. It was bubbles. It was nothing that like when you looked at it didn't feel good. And then everything that said I love you came out with like incredible geometric patterns. That's to understand that like we are always affecting everything around us. And traumas and all these heavier emotions, they do get stored in the body because they have nowhere to go, because there's like, think of like perfect geometry. If you place a water droplet into like the top of like geometric pattern that it'll like flow down, it's gonna flow down. Now put it in like a distorted glass, it's gonna get stuck somewhere and it's just not really gonna move. So when I tell you that's like energy, when I work on someone that just feels very heavy, it feels like a bunch of wrinkled paper that I have to like kind of start smoothing out. And just by you intentionally thinking of certain geometric patterns, it starts shifting the energy around those spaces. And there's like, now we have all the different science I can prove. It's incredible.
It makes perfect sense, because the way that I have understood it is that we have chi, which is sort of like you can describe it better than I can probably, but like just the general flow of energy through our body. And when we have these blockages from traumas, unprocessed emotions, societal conditioning, whatever it is, it kind of blocks that energy flow. And so that's where in your work, correct me if I'm wrong, it's sort of like you can tell where those blockages are. And so why would somebody want to clear those blockages? Like obviously there's a lot of like, why? A lot of like pain and disease that these things can cause, and also it doesn't go away forever, right? Like you shove down an emotion or a difficult time for a short time period, and then something's gonna re-trigger it.
Well, any unprocessed emotion that you're not feeling and you're not actually looking at and kind of like pushing through it, when it does get clogged, it will begin to manifest on your physical body. Everything. Energy equals mass. The velocity of, oh God.
Lost the logical people. Also, this light just turned off and I have no clue why. Energy in motion.
But we're talking about too much energy.
And why would somebody want to clear these blockages? Like, what are the ways that they would notice it manifesting in like their physical body or even in their relationships or life in general?
So when we go back to like E equals MC squared, energy equals mass. And mass, C, is the speed of light squared. So it's to that power. Coming back down to it, energy equals physicality. But you need, in order for that physicality to manifest, there has to be a speed of light. And as that happens, it's like energy keeps being stacked up. And if the stacking keeps happening, which in the world of traumas and unhealed emotions, all of those unhealed patterns, that is all energy. So now all of this energy is being stacked up, and you're not looking at it, and you're not looking at it, and you're avoiding, and you're avoiding, and you're avoiding, and you're avoiding, boom. It starts to become a physical problem because now the energy accumulated so much that it has to create something there because you haven't looked at it. And that can look like women cysts in their ovaries because of traumas around sexual things and partners and whatever that may be. Hearts, if you've broken, I'm deep into the relationships, but if you've like broken hearts and you start having like weird like heart palpitations, and everything is going to be manifested when you're not actually taking care and actually feeling the things and feeling the emotions.
And even stress, like tension, headaches, all of that stuff. My way first into this actually was after a breakup that I went through like 3 years ago. I knew nothing about this world, but I went to Mexico for my healing trip, obviously. Classic.
We all do it.
Yeah, classic. And I was getting a massage and I felt okay going in. And all of a sudden she pressed on this part on the right of my back. This one part, it didn't hurt or anything, but she just pushed and I started bawling my eyes out. I had to stop the massage, sit up, and she was trying to explain to me in Spanish, like, you hold emotions. And at this time, I didn't understand, but that was my first way in to understanding that, like, it stays in your body if you don't move it out. And it also impacts not just physical things like relationships, it impacts your spiritual connection, everything.
So crazy, but this morning I found this woman on Instagram and she like is the most random reel, and the guy like is picking up his wife from like whatever healing she just did with his wife. And so she like goes outside and he said something about like, oh, like my hip, and she was like, so your dad. And he was like, what? And she goes, come here. And she like puts her fist right under his hip and starts pressing really hard. And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And he literally like, she goes, okay, starts screaming, let it go. And he was like, she goes, okay, we'll say, get out of my body. Get out of my body. Just keep saying it. And then he starts like screaming, get out of my body. Like, yes. Amazing. Yeah. I'm so proud of you.
Good job. I'm dead. It is crazy when this stuff starts to actually come to the surface, because it's oftentimes things you forget about too. And so what are the different modalities of energy work? So Reiki is one of them. I imagine like somatic processing is one of them. Like even one of the things that I do when I'm feeling like a lot of stress is I'll do like shaking to try to like shake the energy out, and learning like awareness of how to move energy through your body. But what are the ways that people can sort of like identify, I guess, where they're holding?
Identifying where they're holding is a lot of self-awareness. Like for me, I am very self-aware that I can start feeling like, oh my God, okay, so I'm not processing this, and that's why my liver right now is hurting. I'm not processing this, and that's why my kidneys hurting. But for someone that doesn't know, it's like the first most like easy way to start learning is like understanding the chakra system. And when you start understanding the chakra system, then you're like, okay, I can pinpoint, okay, this area hurts and this chakra has to do with fear and sadness and like all these emotions. And all of a sudden I have a huge gut out of nowhere. Then like you can start kind of understanding, okay, so I am going through this. But like other forms of energy healing, somatic work is amazing. Everything is energy, right? So all the vibrational works like sound healings are incredible as well. Your body is always listening to the vibrations around it, and it's always attuning to the vibrations that it's hearing. The body does something called resonant tuning, and say that like a sound bowl starts going off, and that sound bowl is actually connected to the solar plexus, and the solar plexus governs like all of the different organs and your large intestine, small intestines, like the gut, the liver, the all of the like intestinal area right here. So then if something is off and that bowl begins to play, your body will automatically start to resonate with the tone and mirror the tone back into the body.
And also just to give context too, because each chakra has a specific frequency. And so when you're at a sound healing, if that sound bowl matches that corresponding frequency, is how it.
And it doesn't always feel good.
No, very uncomfortable sometimes.
If you are in like this space of like when people are like, oh, but I don't think anything's like wrong with me. Well, yes, maybe not. And maybe you do go and you feel amazing. And maybe your life hasn't been that traumatic. And maybe it is like a really beautiful moment for you and you can like sit in it. But there's the ones that are like, no, nothing's wrong with me. And then you go, you lay down, and all of a sudden you're crying the entire time. You don't know why, because you haven't really looked inward and haven't had that sense of self-awareness. And if there's no sense of self-awareness, you're not very sensitive to energy. It all begins with you.
So one of the things I want to talk about, and one of the kind of core concepts behind She's Wealthy, is how the majority of people in society live outside in. They look outside of themselves to manipulate external circumstances to feel okay within their bodies. If I have this job, I'll feel happy. When I make this amount of money, I'll be happy. And it's like the classic just human condition lie. And the real truth is that when you take care of your inside world, when you heal your inside world, then you get to a place where no matter what happens externally, you feel at peace. And there's so many ways to approach moving inside out. One of them, like talk therapy, becoming aware of your patterns, somatic healing, nervous system healing, all these things. What is the spiritual perspective on that? And how can you use spirituality to sort of begin to move inside out?
I think it's as simple as starting to just question how you react to things. Because I've had this question and people are like, yeah, but like, where do I start? Just start with curiosity. Start with like just becoming more curious about yourself. Oh, I noticed that I do have road rage. And maybe you've been like, oh, well, everyone has road rage. No. I usually just make fun of people on the road. And I'm like, oh, yeah, bud?
Yeah.
Nice one. Good job. Like,
yeah.
I don't.
Like, why am I getting like viscerally angry?
And so I think it's just like you start by asking yourself the questions and asking yourself about yourself. And a lot of times, right, instead of going inward, because that's what this is, like it's like actually going inside, people will tend to go outward because, okay, well, I just had the most terrible road rage, so I don't feel really good, whatever, I'm just gonna stop at the store and grab a bottle of wine, and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna watch my Netflix show and have 2 glasses of wine and feel better about myself. And like it's super cute until it's not. It makes people uncomfortable because then no one wants to fully go inward, because going inward means that things will change. And everyone is afraid of changing.
Yeah, and you have to look at things you don't want to look at. There's a reason people suppress things.
And they like to stay in their comfort zones. And if I begin to question myself, then that means there's a grand possibility that everything around me will begin to change. And if everything around me begins to change, I don't know if I can handle that. So I'd rather not ask the questions. I'd rather sit where I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Family dynamics change because a lot of what we take on is the way our family taught us how to live, the way society teaches us how to live, the way career, all this conditioning. And as soon as you remove that, it's pretty much impossible to ignore the fact that you have to change things in your life and set boundaries and go in a different direction. So let's say somebody is at the point where they're like, okay, something needs to change. I want to go inward. I want to look at my patterns, like getting to a place where they're really beginning to move, like create that like safety within themselves. The first step is looking at,
like, it's a combination of everything. Because the first thing that you're going to do is question, and then you are going to start looking for answers. And that's going to look so different for every person.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's actually really helped me in my spiritual journey, and I think really what ultimately triggered my awakening, if you want to call it, in a lot of ways, was meditation. Because meditation for me, I was probably like many people listening, tried it so many times. I'm like, I'm bad at this because I'm thinking, like, I'm not noticing any difference. And when I was going through the really difficult time late last year and earlier this year, I was feeling very intuitively I needed to go inward. For some reason, I just felt I need to go inward. So I committed to doing 10 minutes of meditation every morning, no matter what. And it was so difficult at first because it's complete opposite to how you're used to your brain working. And what I learned very quickly was that it isn't about stopping the thoughts. The practice of meditation is actually about noticing your thoughts, because then what starts to happen as you're sitting with yourself is you notice the thoughts and you notice feelings coming up in your body. And then you go through this weird thing where you're like, if I'm not the thoughts and the feelings and I'm noticing the thoughts and the feelings, then am I the observer of these thoughts? And then you start to go down this whole rabbit hole. But what's helpful in realizing that is realizing that at any point you can change your thoughts and your beliefs because you are not those thoughts and beliefs. People get caught up in like the identity of who they are. And I'm thinking this, so it must mean this. What has been your kind of experience with that or perspective?
I think in the beginning, you always need it to be guided because, I mean, you can not, you can do anything you want in this world.
However,
but in the beginning, if you're not guided, you will keep like trailing off in thoughts, and then you can end up going like more negative than positive. And so when you start meditating, what helped me was to have a guide. And, like first you're going to arrive to a pond of water that's going to make you feel very relaxed. And now you're sitting here. And it's like, in the beginning, you do need that because we're not used to just sitting there with our eyes closed if it's not because we're about to go to sleep. So for someone that's never meditated, it's like, you want to be guided. And another practice that's kind of like a shortcut to relaxing the nervous system is breathwork. And it's like a shortcut to meditation because in the pauses, you're like, oh my God, I'm meditating. Oh my God, I'm in like deep stillness. Whoa. So meditation is just like learning how to control your focus.
And people avoid meditation and breathwork because that's the presence. And in that presence and in that stillness is when all of your trapped stuff starts to rise to the surface. And that's where the fear comes up. How can you push through that?
Acceptance.
Yeah.
And like you said, knowing that it's you. Of course, it's you, your voice, it's everything, it's you. But it's not like what you've been through and like who you've been. It doesn't define you. You are one with source, creator, universe. You're one with that really beautiful energy that's like that co-creates with everything. You're one with that beautiful infinite energy. You came through love. You arrived through love. We forget everything and so many limiting beliefs come up and things that like, you tend to be more of an ogre about and then you just like feel bad that you are the way that you are, or you take on everyone else's problems and you make them your own and you don't know how to be your own. And so then you have this guilt and shame, whatever is it's almost like it doesn't really matter, because at the core and center of your being, every person is good. At the core center of everyone, we're all good. So it's like coming back and accepting, yes, I had road rage. Yes, I yelled at my mom. Yes, I like was a bitch to someone the other day. Yes, I didn't know how to set boundaries and I said yes to way too many things and now I'm crying and I don't know how to set. It's fine. It's that moment of like when something comes up, look at it, accept it. And it doesn't have to be like bypass it. Like everything is fine. It is everything. That's the thing though. Everything just is. And it's fine that everything just is. And it's okay wherever you're at. But it's making so much peace with where you're at, not pretending it's not happening, because then what do we do when we're pretending? The energy stacks up and then it becomes physical. So we're not here to pretend, but we are here to continue to accept. And through that acceptance process, everything begins to feel a lot less heavy. It begins to feel a lot more intentional. And like you just feel safer with yourself because you accept all that is.
I feel like I had a grand lesson in that recently, because for most of my life, I had such a negative identification with my emotions. If I was sad, it meant something bad. It meant something bad about me, which is when I turned to substances, alcohol, drugs, etc., to numb that because I felt bad. But I've done so much healing to be able to understand that there's no emotion that is inherently bad. They're all good. And when I was going through my breakup and my loss of purpose and all of these things, I had this sense of like, I'm not going to shove this down. I'm not going to not feel it. I'm going to feel all of it because it's important that I feel all of it to process it fully. But I'm going to have this perspective of like amor fati, like everything is happening for me, good or bad. It is all for my highest purpose. And so it's allowing yourself to feel, but knowing you will be okay and that there's a reason you have to go through it.
And you don't need to know why, not right now. It'll be revealed to you as you live. And then all of a sudden, maybe 2 years later, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. It hits you on a walk and you're like, oh,
I get why I had to go through that.
yeah. And I'm at that point, which is really beautiful. And I want to talk about, you mentioned earlier, using romantic relationships as a vehicle for spiritual growth.
It's my favorite topic.
I know it is. So we're going to talk about it.
I'll be here forever.
How do you want to enter this topic? Because I think for most of my life and the way that most of the world operates is from this place of possessiveness and looking to other people to fill something within themselves rather than getting to a place of wholeness within themselves and finding a partnership that really adds to that and amplifies it. But the spiritual concept of relationships really is that everybody you meet is here to teach you something about yourself, to elevate your consciousness. And if you take the time to look at the patterns that you're exhibiting in relationships, the types of people, the ways you react, rather than just cycling through this constant pattern of like finding somebody one right after the other and hoping like maybe this is it, maybe this is it.
And they're all the same.
And they're all the same in a different package. But if you take it as an opportunity for growth, that's really how you elevate in so many different ways.
Relationships are an opportunity to see yourself. You can only see so much of yourself by yourself. And the moment that you find someone, and it can be a very toxic relationship or it can be an absolutely beautiful one, they're all going to show you. And you're going to attract what you are, who you are. Because like you can't attract someone that's on a different frequency. You can't, if you're tuned into a radio station 101.5, you're not going to hear the music on 107.6. Like you have to be on the same wavelength. If you are attracting toxicity in any way, shape, or form, it's meant to be there to show you. It's meant to show you where you're abandoning yourself. It's meant to show you where you're not standing up for yourself. Everyone is an expander, no matter who it is. And if you choose them and on your path, they're going to help you get closer to you. Every single relationship helps you get closer to you. And even if you're like, you don't understand what they put me through, amazing. You had to look at that. Why do you stay? Because the sex was so good. I'm sure. And did you have addiction patterns to always needing the sex after? Like we have like certain patterns, and you're like, and going from one partner to the next, we do keep attracting the same ones until you finally can look at the pattern and be like, oh my God, I have been attracting addicts this entire time, and I didn't even realize it. What part of me feels like I need to help everyone? If I continue to attract people that need a lot of help and are addicts, what is it that I keep needing to show that like I'm a savior and I'm good enough to save you? And that's an example of like, in that moment, you finally realize that that was a pattern. The pattern ends when there's finally an awareness around it. It's as simple as that. Yeah. It's like in regressions and hypnotherapy. Like when I actually just watched a reel of a podcast that Miley Cyrus as well was on.
I watched this, the EMDR one, or maybe she was talking about something else.
It was a hypnotherapy session. I just know that that was like a little part of it. They're talking and she's like, yeah, I actually went into like a hypnotic state where all of a sudden, like, you know, it was about her stage fright.
Yes. I think this was EMDR.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was about her stage fright, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, like when did you ever feel like I just want everyone to like me? And then she went all the way back to like her grandma's womb, being in her mom's womb and her grandma's womb. When we continue to attract the same kind of person, and we keep attracting like the same pattern in our life, where in my case, like I kept attracting very avoidant people, and I was like anxiously attached. And then the moment that that person wasn't there anymore, all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I don't have the one thing that I was anxiously attached to. And now I have to look inward, but it's so painful to look inward because I need to, how is he? Where is he? Let's create different Instagrams just so I can look at him.
Yeah.
Let's like continue to bring all my energy outward because I don't want to go inward, because there's like this anxious connection to being with that person. And the pattern can look so different. It could, one, like, I'm with this person because I feel like they need me, and I can be there for them. And so then I can always be like focusing on being there for them and not actually being there for myself. But then the universe, source, God, creator is like, that's how you feel? So you can't live without this person because you really feel like, who would you be, or how, like whatever toxicity that you're clinging on to, we need to take it away.
That's what I really believe was, whatever context you want to think about, like spiritually perfect about my last relationship, because my pattern in relationships is I'll attract historically avoidant as well. But because I have this abandonment of self that happens in relationships to get their love. Like maybe if I just like shapeshift, or maybe if like, you know, whatever, it's okay. Like my needs don't matter as much. And the way that that manifested in my last relationship was perfectly orchestrated by the universe, because it was somebody that I had a healthy relationship with for the first time. And it was like the orchestration of just the way that it all happened and things that were going on with him, it was like the perfect lesson for me to finally be like, look in the mirror, turn inward. What in you is creating this outcome? Because we keep going from person to person to person. Maybe it's just this person, the situation, the speed of the relationship, the whatever that needs to change, rather than just looking inside of ourselves. And it just ends up being a constant cycle
until it finally breaks.
And that's a conscious choice.
Exactly. You have to choose different. And that takes time. And sometimes people are like, oh my God, I feel like my picker is broken. It's like, because you keep picking people that
are triggering your wounds and on the same frequency as you. And that's why I think the idea of course, there's exceptions to this. When you get out of a relationship, sometimes the person shows up really soon afterwards. But the way that I thought of my last, I don't know how long it's been, 7 months at this point, was my automatic instinct was like, find somebody new, right? But I knew consciously that I needed to take time to raise my vibration and my frequency, because if I want to meet that lifelong partner, I'm going to continue to grow forever and ever. I outgrow all the time, but like I'm going to continue to grow, and I want to find somebody that can meet me on the same frequency to be my life partner. So instead of jumping into another relationship where I'm just going to attract somebody on the same level of wounding as me, let me take the time to grow and be whole.
And it takes a lot of courage because people can't be alone. And then that's where like all of a sudden when you get into that space, like, oh my God, I just want to be with someone. And if it feels very desperate, then you have to look at that. You have to look at, okay, well, what is making you so desperate and needy of finding someone? You're not happy being by yourself still. You're not content with you. So then usually the universe is like, we're not going to show you anyone yet. You're going to have to keep being alone and keep understanding yourself until you fully are so happy with where you are and you're not looking. Everything arrives when you are not looking because you're so content and in a space of joy and like neutral. It's not like you're like this like super happy, excited person every day and you wake up and you're like, yay! Like, no, it's like you're not resisting anything. You're just kind of like, cool, amazing. And you say yes to things and you go and you meet and God, you could meet the person the most random way. I don't know why a shared bathroom with shared men and women sinks. So you come out and you're just washing your hands.
Yeah. And so how does that work from like a spiritual perspective of like, because my understanding of this is that like when you raise your consciousness to a certain frequency, you automatically sort of attract people on your same wavelength. And I see this all the time with myself. Like I can instantly recognize somebody that's operating out of a lot of ego or insecurity or fear. And I can like sniff it very, very quickly now. And those people sort of just fall away very naturally because we don't want to talk about the same things. We see the world differently, etc. But is the idea that, like, talk me through the like attracts like concept.
Okay. And it's funny because I spoke about this a few days ago with someone because they're like, oh, you probably want like this super spiritual man. And it's like, pause. Everyone is spiritual. One. Everyone. You exist, you're spiritual. That's it. You are one with creator and you're just innate. It's part of you. It's like my moral compass and how I see the world and my heart. If my heart matches your heart, perfect. We don't have to be in the same field. You don't have to be a healer. You don't have, like, if you have a sense of self-awareness in whatever way that came to you, you don't have to be like, oh, I've done 15 Reikis and I've been doing breathwork.
It's like kind of like them a little bit too sometimes.
It's a healthy masculine that's just like has an open heart. You can feel when someone is deeper in their heart, because if you're deep in your heart, you cannot be in your ego. You can't. It's like water and oil. And so when like attracts like, it is that you can sense, ooh, their heart is nice. Eyes are nice. You just feel when someone's just like genuinely like, and that doesn't mean that they didn't go through things. That doesn't mean that they don't have baggage. That doesn't mean, but it means that they have this pureness of self-acceptance.
Yeah, and also an openness to work through the inevitable ways that you will trigger each other. Because in relationships, it's the ultimate mirror. Like you're triggering each other's deepest wounds, and a willingness to stay in that moment and ask the question, look inside, rather than running. So it's an openness to looking internally, openness to growth. Something you said to me too that night, I remember, was that women are sort of the means by which men grow. Do you remember saying this to me?
So in other terms that I like to put it is also woman is the bridge to God for man. And we are that portal of connection to the energy that the man is like attracted to. And so it's not that the man doesn't have to do the work, but the woman does kind of lead and she does guide him spiritually. And the man is meant to be there to support her emotionally. Because like we have hormones, we are up and we are down. We go through our things and it's fine. But like the man is to sit in like his humbleness of just having testosterone and be able to cater to us at whatever level, at whatever. And then we, whenever they're in their like frustration and everything, we are meant to like cradle them and like be like, hey, like, you know, everything's gonna work out. It's gonna be fine. Like you're there to like keep supporting him and being his number one fan. But that's like kind of the balance game. And if like you're a woman that doesn't feel emotionally supported by your man, he hasn't healed. He hasn't looked within. He hasn't, because it's in every man to hold space for their woman emotionally. It's part of like the innate wisdom of like the human.
And if you're not, there's something that's blocking that ability. And that's where I feel like the balance has gotten really off kilter in society right now with dating, where I feel like, and I don't know if this is controversial.
Everyone's so afraid to open up.
Everyone's so afraid to open up. Meanwhile, there's you and I cry like 3 times a day. I'm like, I'll tell you everything. I just want to be hugged. I just want to be hugged. I'm like forever a lover girl. You could literally, you could destroy me and I will forever be a lover girl. Like that's just like to my core, you know? That's what I'm saying. It's the best way to live. But it's gotten so off kilter in our society because even when I go on social media, it's these women that, and I used to be this way, posting videos like, well, I make this. I took myself to Saint-Tropez. What do I need a man for? It's this strange thing too, where then men are becoming more passive. And so it's to remain in your natural essence in society now that takes so much courage and so much bravery to really like dig inside of you.
And also my brain goes to when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you're deep in that world of, and that also goes with like attracts like, when you're deep in that world of like, I'm this, I can do this, I don't need a man, you kind of start to attract a bunch of women that are just like you. But then once you start seeing, like if we reframe this and we're like, you know what, there's so many incredible men out there. There's so many beautiful, incredible space holding men that are in their divine masculine and they're like got you, babe, I'll order that, whatever for you, like just whatever that looks like. And if you keep believing that that exists more than what we are technically like putting our energy towards of like, no, like it's not easy, it's really hard, we'll attract someone finally once we start like, no, they're there.
Yeah. Because if you keep, people to understand is if you keep saying dating is so hard, men are so X, Y, and Z, the universe will continue to prove you correct over and over and over again. Like it's always saying yes to whatever you believe, positive or negative. That's something I've started to doing, and like being open to dating again is just literally if I see on my feed like men are so blah blah blah, any limiting belief, I just swipe past so fast, or I like don't show me this again. Any man that comes into the ether that is like inconsistent, I'm like goodbye so fast. Because I'm like, and as I continue to have the mindset of there's so many beautiful men out there that are safe, that are protectors, that will make me feel emotionally safe in all ways that I can be with and have my light expanded rather than contracted, the more I see more of that and the more men I meet like that. And it's, your reality begins to shift when your beliefs and your thoughts do as well.
Love the universe.
I know. It's just always saying yes.
And that comes with like a lot of self-awareness and stopping the pattern of like doubt. And that is huge because we tend to doubt.
I'm curious if you have any practices when you find yourself in moments of scarcity or feeling that doubt. What do you do?
First, I'm like, nothing is real. Like, it's not. Like, you're the most real. And when you start feeling like in that state of lack, if I keep focusing on that, that's all I'm going to keep seeing.
Right.
So I have to start focusing on what is the most abundant thing. The plants, the flowers, the clouds around me, the lights. Like it's like you have to tune out of you because everything that you think, you believe. And if you're in that state and if you can rewind and be like, wait, this isn't real. This is just something that I'm making up in my brain because of whatever I'm seeing right now. And I'm choosing to step out of it because I understand that just me existing is abundant enough. And then everything will start to like come back. But the more you feed it and the more that you feed it, and then it's like everything's in lack. Everything you become a cup is half full or half empty. Half empty.
So fast about everything. Half empty.
Everything.
Fully empty. Yeah.
It can be hard, especially if you have really rooted limiting beliefs around like abundance and around like receiving, and it all goes back to your self-worth and how much do you value yourself. And then in those moments, all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm not seeing my value right now. How can I see my value right now? What is so valuable about me? And like, that's what keeps bringing you back to yourself over and over again. And rejection and feeling like rejected by people, by opportunities, whatever that may be, rejection does not define your worth. And I think that we attach to that a lot.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden you're like, no, but they said no, and they said no, and that person said no. And everything just keeps saying no. And it's like, but you do know that you're amazing, right?
And when you start to see it from the perspective of everything is happening for your highest good, rejection, you come to be like, thank you, because now I'm closer to what is actually for me. As if you go through life trying to push and resist and constantly in this space of like trying to control the external, you actually kind of delay what's meant for you because you stay longer in the spaces and with the people that are wrong. So every single no, like every single date I go on, it's like, that's a no, that's a no. I'm like, okay, closer to the yes.
I did a video yesterday on this. It's rejection is redirection. And sometimes like, yeah, rejection, because it's not him, it's that way. And it's like, yes, but rejection is also redirection inward. That wasn't it. Okay. What made me feel like that one was it? Why did I kind of need that then? Okay. I need to expand past this version of myself. And like, it's just continuing to question inward. You don't have to question everything.
Fine, that's part of this.
That's the whole point.
Yes.
And I know within all of this, and you're like, yeah, well, you know, my fun looks like getting wasted and going out and doing, and like, there's healthier joys. There's more present joy. When you're drunk, you're not present. You are, but you're not. You don't remember your present state later. So it just like going into those healthier present states of joy. That is the point.
Yeah. Being with friends, like learning how to play tennis, anything that like brings you back to feeling like a kid again. That's what people always doodling. Yeah. People always ask me like, oh, you're sober, like life must not be very fun. And I'm like, oh, my life is like filled with so much like pure fun and pure joy and pure happiness because nothing's numbed. Everything is like felt so fully and not through this like cloudy veil. And even when I think about allowing yourself to go to the depths of your emotions, of your sadness, of your grief, of your pain, your ability to go there is only equal opposite to your ability to feel the higher, you know, the feelings we want to feel, the joy and the love. So don't be afraid of going there for anyone listening that just wants to cry. So to kind of wrap this conversation up, I want to talk for anybody that's just sort of starting on this journey. And I've come to understand spirituality is ultimately just a return to self. Like it's not about crystals and, you know, astrology is obviously a part of returning to self, but there's so many, you know, things that people use. But spirituality at the end of the day is clearing out the blockages to return to your truest essence. If somebody is at a place where they're like wanting to start on that journey, what are some tangible tips that you can give them as far as practices, just like a foot in the door?
Well, first off, you're not broken. You are just remembering who you are. And in remembering, it is just kind of like coming home to yourself. And the most easiest part or the most easiest thing that you could do is start journaling, right? Like brain dump. And, you know, there's people, and I met someone the other day that was like, I don't think I've written just because like my brain just since like college, like I just don't write. And it's like, okay, well, take a moment and actually like intentionally write. And you can look up ChatGPT. You can tell Chat, I'd like to go deeper with myself. Can you give me 10 journal prompts? And so like if you don't know what to write about, and so then you're able to kind of just have a little bit of a guidance. One would be journal. Two would be finding breathwork, and you can do that on YouTube.
God, I resisted breathwork for the longest time.
Oh, but there's gentle ones too.
Yeah.
That aren't so like invasive, and guided meditations. I feel like those are like top 3. Then there's things like, okay, what are you putting in your body? Because a lot of that affects you, and how much sugar you're eating, seed oils, all these different kind of like chemically something happens in the body and it disrupts the nervous system. You want to start like leaning away from things that are so disruptive to the nervous system, just so that you can feel more in your body, not vibrating out of your body. So I think that those are like my top.
Yeah, that's great. And what you said too is the thread of presence too, like something simple that I do every day, but I'm like very, very comfortable sitting alone with myself. Like I think I could do like a 7-day Vipassana at this point, but like 10, 15 minutes walking outside, no podcast, no music,
Yes.
just noticing what's happening around you and trying to feel gratitude for the things that are around you. Like, wow, look at that beautiful tree, that dog that's so happy, but just getting really present with yourself, because that's where things will start to be shown to you. And that's where the growth can really start. Thank you so much for being on, Estefanía. Where can people find you on Instagram? And then also tell everybody a little bit about like what you offer.
Yes.
Either in person or virtual.
You can find me on Align With Me, and I do programs for like alignment. I kind of help you come back to yourself. I help you with practices, Reiki, breathwork, sound healing, guided meditations. And I also have a retreat in Mexico, September 18th to the 22nd. It's really a retreat to come home to yourself. There's going to be Kundalini yoga practices daily. There's gonna be Kundalini is incredible.
It is.
It is a very shortcutty way to like really awaken the body.
I'm doing a whole episode on Kundalini, don't you worry.
So there's Kundalini, there'll be breath work. It's a tiny little town in Mexico, south of the city, that is just kind of like tucked away in the mountains. This area was like ruled by like the only woman leader of all time in Mexico.
Love.
And so it's like, it's very like women entrepreneurs. A lot of the little places are all like run by women. And so we're going to be doing like temazcal and different like practices and blessings with the indigenous.
Amazing.
And daily food. Yeah.
Amazing.
And community.
Yeah. But you also do events in Miami as well.
Monthly women's circles that will pick back up in October after the retreat.
Amazing. She's the real deal. So check her out. Her reels are my favorite because they trigger you, and I love a good triggering video. Thank you so much, Estefanía, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.